What's up, guys? This is Tim from Helix Esports. Welcome back to another episode of Helix Heroes. On this episode, I've got Kenny Small with me, a Rutgers University grad and manager of the Rutgers Esports Overwatch team, who's also an incredible caster and vital member of the Helix Esports community. Kenny has casted many of our events, including high school Overwatch tournaments, Call of Duty and Fortnite monthlies, and most recently, our Call of Duty tournament with the Wounded Warrior Project. On this episode, we discuss how Kenny originally got involved with his university's esports program, what it was that inspired him to start casting, as well as the methods he uses to work on his craft. As always, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy. All right. Kenny Smalls, how you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, Tim?
Not
I'm
too
doing
bad,
pretty
dude.
good, man.
Excited to have you on today.
I'm excited to be on. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll start real simple. What's your name? Where are you from? And what's the first game you remember falling in love with?
My name's Kenny Small. I go by Beaniez. I'm from a small town in North New Jersey, just outside New York City. So I guess I'm a little suburb of that area. And the first game I fell in love with, probably Kingdom Hearts. I mean, I had games prior to that, but Kingdom Hearts 1 when I was 6 years old was probably the first game that really captured me.
Love that. And what system was that on?
PlayStation 2. I got it for Christmas in first grade. And I got it, I got the game, the system, and I got the strategy guide. But for some reason, we didn't think about getting a memory card. So the first month I had the game, I just kept replaying the start over and over again, seeing how far I could get. It was like an arcade game basically. And then I got a memory card, and I was blown away with how much the game had.
That's an absolute riot. And so where does the name Beaniez come from?
In high school, I just collected a lot of hats. I had I think 32 or 34 beanies.
No way.
I had enough where I could just wear one every day of the month and not repeat. But I definitely have my favorites of the bunch. And so my original name was She Smurfed Me. And that was an 8th grade humor kind of joke that I thought was hilarious. So I made all my accounts that. And then as I got older, I started to regret that choice. So I went with Beaniez.
And love it, man. I had no idea.
I think
That's
I
so
went with
funny.
that senior year too, 18 years old. So I had a few good years with She Smurfed Me.
Good stuff. And so when did you get started with Rutgers Esports?
That would be my junior year, March of my junior year, the very beginning of March.
And was that when the program had just started out, or how long had it been around?
No, it started, I want to say 2014. No, maybe 2013, because the founders were are a year older than me, Malav Patel, Alex Bog.
Yep.
Adam Bog
Adam,
and
yeah,
Alex
right, yeah.
Moo. Mixed up the two names. But yeah, they're a bunch of the founders, and Jacob Kupferberg. And they're a year older than me, so I think 2013 it started. 2014, I first got involved playing in the League of Legends tournament, and then didn't really do much with it. And then 2017, I had a project in one of my classes called a passion project, where basically the teacher said for the midterm grade, we had to find something we didn't really know too much about or weren't too involved with that we wanted to get involved with. Do that, and then make a presentation and show everyone what you did exactly and how you were exploring your passion.
Yeah.
And I chose esports because I was super into League of Legends at the time. And I talked to my buddy Alex Moo, one of the founders. He got me in touch with a few members of the org, and they invited me out to one of their weekly meetings. Then at that meeting, I met the, at the time, Overwatch manager, and he asked me if I was interested in pursuing esports more, and I said yeah. So he told me to come out to their club meeting on Friday, and that club meeting, he dropped the question if I wanted to run the Overwatch team, and I've been doing that since March of 2017.
That's awesome, dude. And you're still doing that now, right?
Yeah, we just finished up our season 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, with our last tournament, and now, unfortunately, with some international students, we had some players go home, so they can't play with us, and then jobs and all that stuff are starting up again. So now we're in off-season mode.
Okay, gotcha. And so how was this season?
It went well. The first half of it, the first semester, we did really well. We had 5 freshmen and 1 senior returning to the team, so it was a lot of new faces coming onto the roster we had to work with. And first semester it went really well for us, but then after first semester our main tank decided to drop out. So then we started having a scramble to try and fill that role, and then we tried out one main tank who was our sub and ran with him for a bit, and then we brought back Kyrie, who was our main tank last year, who wasn't able to play due to time restraints, and then came back because he had time in his schedule for us. And so then we had to really play, I guess, main tank carousel for a lot of second semester, which was unfortunate. And then, oh yeah, and then to top it off, we had a third main tank for the latter half when Kyrie had to go back home to China at the end of the semester. So, like I said, a main tank carousel we had to play, but we still had some good showings in tournaments. We finished our last tournament in fourth place. We
Nice.
peaked. I think we fall TESPA. We got top 6 maybe. We placed first in the Rutgers tournament, and then an NICL tournament, another league. So we had a good amount of ups and downs throughout the season.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, not only do you manage the team, but you're also a caster on like a side project as well, right? So, when did you realize that casting was something that you enjoyed and wanted to pursue?
I mean, I was always interested in the idea of it just because of my kind of personality, but I didn't get involved with it at all until actually I got involved with Rutgers Esports and was brought into the org. And then every year there's an event called the Scarlet Classic, which is an annual event they put on. And it was the third Scarlet Classic, I believe, that I was asked to, or they were looking for Overwatch casters, and I figured I'd give it a shot. Why not? See how it goes. And I did it then for the first time. Didn't really pursue it too much afterwards. And then come fall semester, we had our annual winter event, the Fireside Classic, which again they needed Overwatch casting for, and I got involved with. And that would be my senior year of college. And then the same thing kind of persisted where I casted the Scarlet Classic for my senior year and just kept going with that. And then I didn't really get too involved with casting until I want to say December of 2018.
Yep.
I got a gig with casting for NYXL at their pop-up shop, where I casted for a whole weekend their collegiate and their high school tournament. And
I was there. I was at that pop-up shop.
Yeah, and after doing that and getting a chance, that was actually my first paid gig too.
Nice.
And so having a chance to be paid for that, being in an environment with casting, having a legitimate production setup going with hearing a producer talk in my ear, having to wear the company merchandise and all that stuff, I really enjoyed the environment. I wanted to take it more seriously, and then that is when I really started to try and get more consistent casting gigs and be a part of the scene more and get involved in other games too, because as much as I love Overwatch, it's not the only game I enjoy playing and enjoy watching.
Right. So I remember you were saying, so you also casted, I've seen you cast Modern Warfare before, Call of Duty. Are there any other games that you like to cast specifically?
Yeah, I've casted Apex before. I really enjoyed casting Apex. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
I casted Fortnite once a while back. It was a good time, but Fortnite, I haven't played that much, so I don't really have too much of I want to say footing in that game to really commentate it. I need to study it a little more. I've casted a TFT. I dabbled with not too much, and then Valorant's the most recent one actually, where I started casting it a few weeks ago. No, I'd say like 2 months ago now. I started casting in beta with some weekly tournaments and just trying getting gigs here and there with that. But I've really enjoyed casting Valorant so far.
That's awesome. Yeah, it seems like an unbelievable game. I remember when you were casting the Wounded Warrior gunfight tournament, you had said that you practiced by kind of loading bots in and having them. Sometimes you did like a simulation and you would cast that way to get some practice in.
Yeah.
Is that the only way you practice, or are there other methods?
So I do, depending on the game I'm playing or casting, I should say, it will affect how I practice. Like Overwatch, I've tried doing that where I have the bots going, and it has hit or miss moments, but it's hard for me to take it as seriously. In Call of Duty, I've had more success with casting bots. I don't know why, but I just am able to stay more focused on it.
Yeah.
The other ways I'd practice though would be getting VODs of professional matches and just muting the casters themselves and just doing your own cast. Get a buddy in there too to help you, because solo casting, it can be helpful, but it can also be detrimental to you, just because you may develop bad habits that you don't want to carry over when you have a partner that you're bouncing off of and having more of a conversation with.
I've seen some people kind of like load up even somebody's just Twitch stream, like when they're just even playing in pubs and kind of cast over that. Have you ever done something like that?
I've never done that with like a streamer per se, but I've done it with pro matches. So like the Overwatch League, I've done that where I'll mute it and cast over those games, or whenever there's an Apex tournament going on and I'm watching, I'll mute it for a little bit and just cast over it. Really just part of it just because I like to keep myself fresh, and those are opportunities where you just have, it's free content right there where you can cast it and easy peasy,
right.
Get a feel of how you're doing. But it's also good just to keep the rust off and make sure you're always ready to go whenever a game may be calling.
Absolutely. So as someone who's kind of started from not even really knowing that casting was something that you wanted to pursue, to someone who started to pursue that, what would you say would be the best way for someone looking to get involved to start getting involved?
Honestly, just get a reel. A lot of casters who start out don't have a casting reel, and just get yourself some kind of content you can put together to show people. And it's literally as easy as going into a private match and casting over some bots, or casting over an Overwatch League match, a CWL match, something along those lines. Just getting any kind of practice in for yourself and getting content that you can share with people to get yourself gigs. And I guess on top of that, just VOD reviewing is massive. So many people don't realize how much you can learn by listening to your own commentary.
Yeah.
Even if, it's difficult to listen to your own voice. I still have a lot of trouble listening to my own voice, but when you're able to sit there and just compare yourself to a caster you may look up to, or someone you may aspire to be similar to, and really see the differences you may have, it helps a lot. Personally, for me, one of my go-tos is Uber from the Overwatch League. I often try and not emulate him, but I really enjoy the style of having the quick wit, the quick comebacks, always able to point something out and without missing a beat, just keep the flow going, keep the tone going. And he does a really good job with that. And I really try and, I don't want to be him, but I do compare, what would Uber have done in this situation, and then what I did here exactly, and why would his have worked? Why did his work and mine may not have, or vice versa?
Gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. So other than Uber in the Overwatch League, is there any other casters that you kind of look up to and try to emulate their style?
Well, I don't really try to emulate her, but Necra is a caster I've worked with a lot. She's pretty well known in the Overwatch scene and the Pokemon scene. She's gained a lot of traction. I think she does TFT as well and Hearthstone, but I've worked with her a bunch of times, specifically on the Scarlet Classic matches and a lot of collegiate Overwatch stuff. And every time it's just been such a fantastic time working with her, and the way that she casts and gets herself involved in so many different games and is able to hold her own, not only as a caster, but as an analyst specifically in a lot of these games where you have to have a lot of game knowledge and you have to be able to describe complex ideas in a very digestible format for people watching these streams. And she does that fantastically. So
yeah,
she's definitely someone I personally have looked up to and I love working with a lot. So I always talk her up whenever I can. And then I think if I have to give one more over, I'd say Maven. He's been really fun to watch. I first actually started watching any of his commentary back in my sophomore year of college. So that would be, I think, Black Ops 4. Maybe it wasn't my sophomore year, but it was the Black Ops 4 season.
Yeah.
Or no, Black Ops 3 season, excuse me. It was the Black Ops 3 season that I first started watching him and listening to him. And I really enjoy listening to his commentary. And I think he does a great job at handling such a fast-paced game like Call of Duty, but still able to fit in storylines and make people care about the humans actually playing the game.
Yeah, that's awesome. What would you say is your favorite moment that you've casted? Kind of a tricky question.
Okay, no, not even hard. So
not
Scarlet Classic 5 last year. We are playing in the Rutgers basketball stadium in Iraq. It's the first time the Scarlet Classic is at this big a venue, and we are in the finals of the Overwatch tournament, the Rutgers team against NJIT, who's been longtime rival. Last year was a
In-state
very
rival.
Yeah, last year was a really messy rival. I mean, we played them at the Helix tournament, actually, the NYXL one,
I remember.
and we beat them there. And it's always been a messy rivalry between the two of us. No love lost at all. And so playing them in the finals, I had a chance to actually cast it with Necra, and I had Moopy there from XL2 and Jonah, best student, another friend of mine, another caster, and we were casting it, and it started out really tense because I always try my best to keep as unbiased as possible,
Right.
just because nobody enjoys listening to a biased commentary. To tell you, and Rutgers went down 0-2. NJIT came out of the gate storming, went up 2-0 really fast, and traditionally we were very used to beating them pretty handily, so it's caught the Rutgers team off guard. And then the comeback started, the 3-2 reverse sweep. There were so many near moments of just possibly losing the whole match. I remember on Watchpoint Gibraltar, there was a specific moment where I think there was a sleep that landed that on a Reinhardt, because this was GOATS meta. So there was a sleep that may have landed that was like nearly perfect at saving the match and going on to game 5. And then in game 5, it was just like such a runaway from the Scarlet Knights, and I couldn't contain it anymore. I screamed out the cast, and I sprinted out of the booth and ran to the team and celebrated with them afterwards. And I just kind of left Necra there to close out the cast and send it to a break or whatever. And it was just a ridiculous moment. I did not expect that comeback to happen. I was blown away.
That sounds like a blast. That sounds like
my God, it was incredible. It was definitely easily my favorite commentary moment I've ever had.
That's great stuff. And do you still commentate any of the Rutgers matches? Like, I know you're the Overwatch manager, but do you ever commentate any of those matches as well?
Yeah, so I had the chance to cast Spring Rally again this year. Last year, where the foretold match happened was the inaugural Spring Rally. So they were playing for, I think each player was going to get $500 for first place. It was like a $3,000 prize. So it was a lot of money on the line with that reverse sweep as well. And they came back this year and put on another Spring Rally with Call of Duty featured also. So I had a chance to cast the Overwatch matches for them again. So I guess Rutgers, I always come back for the Fireside cast because they do Overwatch every year. And I mean, I enjoy doing it, and they know me. And I've tried not to take away, for Fireside, I don't want to explicitly take away chances from a lot of the younger casters coming in.
That makes
so
sense.
I had a chance to actually work with I think he was a freshman actually who I had a chance to work with, and it was an interesting time because it was his first cast, so I was trying to help him out through that and stuff. And that's one of the things that's it's good and bad with Rutgers, because I guess collegiate as a whole, because you have a lot of these student run events where people are learning as they go, and people are really having their first cast, so there's going to be some mistakes, but there's also a lot of times where people just find out they're ridiculously good at casting. And this kid I was casting with, he casted both Overwatch and Rocket League, and he was drained at the end of the day, and he was still putting on a good show. So
but that's how you learn, right? Like, same thing with you. That's how you got started, and now you're still doing it to this
just
day. And even
throw yourself in it.
Exactly right, because you get that experience. And even a guy like Adam as well, that's how he got started. He helped start the program at Rutgers, and now he's over at Ambox because he had that experience back then. So I think that's great. What exactly is Fireside?
Fireside is it's basically the Scarlet Classic in the fall semester for Rutgers. So every year, Rutgers Esports puts on 4 major events. There's a casual event at the start of the fall semester and the spring semester, where it's more of like a welcome back to school kind of thing. Come out, play video games, meet the org, come see the clubs, make some friends. And then towards the end of the semester, so beginning of December and then middle of April, end of April, they throw the Fireside and the Scarlet Classic, which are the competitive tournaments where they have, sponsors, they have tournaments, with other colleges, and, CSGO, Overwatch, Hearthstone, League of Legends, Dota 2, Rocket League, you name it, there's tournaments for it.
And if I remember correctly, you guys have had massive turnouts for those every year, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's progressively gone up every year, and unfortunately, since I've left since I no longer am part of the executive board, I don't really know exactly the numbers, but every year it's gone up. And even with the rack, when we were at the Rutgers Athletic Center back in 2019 for the first spring rally, that had a ridiculous showing. I think that was near 1,000 people or 800
Yeah.
people showed up to that, and it was fantastic. And unfortunately, this year the Scarlet Classic was canceled because of the pandemic. So next year we'll have to see exactly how big the turnout is, and I'm hoping it's going to be massive.
I'm sure it's going to be another great event. Just kind of segueing a little bit here. Do you think that Rutgers will have a Valorant team?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I put together a Valorant team for this N-Box tournament they threw during beta. It was a really last minute thing. We put together the team I put out the form on a Wednesday. We had tryouts on Saturday, and then by Sunday we had a team, and tournament matches started on Monday or Tuesday. So it was a really last minute thing that we put together, and I didn't. It's not really a team anymore, mainly because I didn't want to create a team that persisted like that was limited to only the closed beta.
Yep.
And there were a lot of people who I know for a fact didn't have the game yet, or one player who wanted to try out didn't have the game available until the day of tryouts. So there's definitely an issue with people not having a chance to really play the game and learn the game. So there is going to be a Valorant team 100%. It's just a matter of when they start getting the wheels turning and having a dedicated coordinator and all that stuff put together for it.
Absolutely, yeah, that'll be great. Hopefully they get to play some Valorant at the next Start Classic as well.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt in my mind it's going to be there. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to be massive.
Yeah. What is one thing that you're excited for once quarantine is lifted?
Get casting live events. I mean, there's nothing like it. When quarantine actually, like right before quarantine was put into effect, I'm talking like mere days before it was fully enforced. I think March 14th I went down, and I was supposed to go down for, I don't know if you know EGF, they run the high school and college leagues.
Yeah, the Gaming Federation, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and they help colleges get their esports orgs aligned with the administration and really off the ground. They were having their annual finals event with the MAC conference, the Mid-Atlantic Athletic Conference. Those double A's always get
double A's are tricky, man.
It's tricky. It's like those batteries, man. But the MAC is really like one of the big conferences that put esports on the map. And so they had a really big event last year in Albany, and this year was going to be in Atlantic City, and I was casting Overwatch, and it was going to be fantastic. And then Thursday, the day we're all driving down, we get the call that, hey, events axed, unfortunately.
Wow, that was right before, huh?
Yeah, the day we were supposed to go down. So they said, like, the event, I mean, the rooms are still booked by MAC. You're welcome to come down. We're still going to be here if you'd want to come out. And, I was able to go down to Atlantic City for the weekend, but, I mean, I showed up and I saw EGF packing up the venue and where it was going to be held. And it was so disheartening because it just looked like it was going to be such a fantastic event with such a nice stage they had. And it was really legitimate, feeling like a real esports event that it was just a missed opportunity. So I can't wait for that to get back out there.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're going to happen again at some point. We're just waiting on the word, and we're opening Helix's doors this week, so we're really excited about that. We're not having any events
yet. That's always good news.
But yeah, we're opening the doors on Thursday, and people seem to be pretty excited.
Oh yeah, you kidding me? Not having your local LAN center with those PCs, dude. I've played on those PCs. They're ridiculous.
Yeah, we can't wait to have the events, and hopefully we'll have you come out to cast again.
Oh, I love casting it, man. Helix is like my second home, dude. Whenever I need a gig, whenever I need to get that itch, it's always an event that pops up. Always a text from Tim that's like, "Hey, man, you want to cast some Call of Duty?"
Yeah, dude, and you're always willing. I mean, that's why it's so great, and you're willing to get that practice in. I mean, it's going to pay off in the long run for sure.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, and that's, I guess, anyone who's watching too, like, Helix has events. A perfect example of how you get your foot in the door with casting is talk to people like Tim and Murph. Get an opportunity to cast Smash, Call of Duty, Fortnite. I mean, it's
whatever
right there.
You name it, we got it.
Yeah, I mean, don't you do FGC events too, like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter?
Right before, before Corona hit, we were doing weekly Smash. We had Mortal Kombat events going on. We had a lot of good FGC events going on for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Patrick running around.
Oh yeah, always. And so hopefully we can get those events going soon. I have a feeling we'll be able to, but it's going to take a little bit of time. But I think patience will pay off, and they'll be great.
Hmm.
Well, all right, Kenny. Thank you so much for hopping on, man. And like I said, can't wait to have you back in Helix casting another one of our events.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, dude. It's been so long since I've been able to come back. I can't wait for you guys to open up again and have any kind of events going down. I'll
I
be
know,
there.
dude. It's gonna be great. Thanks again, Kenny, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you, man. You too, buddy.
All right, brother.